My professional life, man, was I a pro? I don't know. I just, when I was 12 years old, I started working for my uncle. He lived next door. He was a painter. Used to work after schools, and on Saturdays, we'd go down to the Premier Surplus Center and we'd paint signs. He taught me how to paint signs, and it's just created an interest in arts as I grew up, and as I reached maturity, if I ever did, being an artist was my calling. My uncle, he was an artist. He worked at it. He did paintings all his life. He never worked for anybody. He was too ornery to work for anybody. So he worked for himself and painted roofs and fences and houses and whatever needed painting. And then he painted signs. And then after we got through with our painting jobs, we go to his studio, and he'd set up a couple of easels, and he'd teach me how to paint landscapes and whatever. My parents could see I had an interest in music, but we didn't have a piano. We had no way of buying one. We were just poor folks. We didn't have anything. So they got me an accordion, and I learned to play the accordion. So when I got home from my lessons, I'd teach my mother how to play. So we got 2 for 1 out of that deal. I saved my money, and I bought a little $25 guitar over at Murray Music, and just sat down with a book of chords and taught myself how to play. I went into the Army right out of high school. I bought a little baritone ukulele to take with me because it would fit inside a locker. And when I was on my mission, I had the opportunity and fortune to be asked to sing with the Mormonaires. They were a professional group put together by our mission president. He was Stephen R. Covey, and he put them together. And they competed on all these music festivals they had, and did so well. They just excelled in the music that they did. So I was called to be a part of the Mormonaires. That was just a beautiful experience in my life, one I'll never forget. After my mission, I worked for civil engineers for most of my career. Everybody needed a draftsman, doing drawings and doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I started a band called the Red Rock Wranglers, and they wanted to be professionals, and we tried hard at it, and we re-recorded a couple of albums. And well, my dad was Leroy Raymond Downs. My dad drove a garbage truck. He worked all over the place, anywhere he could get a job. He lived in California. His dad worked leveling lots. He'd shovel and wheelbarrow. He'd level all these lots up in Tahunga area so they could build on. So I never knew my grandfather, but he had a big influence on me. He was a one-man band. He played all these instruments together at the same time, and I wish so much that I had got to know him, but someday I hope to hear him sing. But my mother, she was one of 12 children. Had 6 boys and 6 girls in their family. My grandfather he came from Denmark, and they were assigned to live in Gunnison. She ended up living in Gunnison her whole childhood life. My dad saw a picture of her that my aunt had, and did he think that she might write back if he wrote her a letter? So he did. they started a correspondence. So they married and were in the Salt Lake Temple, and I've always been a member of the church, and I've always had a strong testimony because it's provided so much for me. I'm most certain that Jesus Christ lives, and He guides us. We served our mission in Hawaii. I worked in the engineering department there at the Polynesian Cultural Center, and it was another great experience. They needed someone with my job skills, so I had the computer skills in drafting, and it's what they needed, so that's why they wanted me to come and work with them. One morning after our devotional, I went for a walk in the park there before the doors opened. They opened at noon, so I had the whole park to myself. I just loved to walk through there, and it was so beautiful, and all these different places that represented the different islands, and I just could never get over that. It was just such a wonderful thing to be able to do, and I was there near the entrance once, and they had these big glass cases with interesting things in them for the customers to look at, and one of them was just a group of these little model ships of these double canoes. It was just so beautiful. I think I couldn't help but think, oh, this has got to be something that Lehigh would have taken. It was like you turn a radio on, you hear that rushing noise, came on in my head, then his voice had said, this is what Nephi's ship looked like. And that just set me back. But I was told that by somebody, I don't know who, but it was a definite voice. Well, I want them to understand that I have a strong testimony of the gospel. I'm just so grateful for all the experiences I've had in life that have helped me get to this point. You know, I'm an old man now. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be around, but I do know that however long it is, it's going to be greatly appreciated. And as far as I can tell, my purpose has been to live the experiences that I have, to gain testimony of the things that I have, and I've always appreciated that, and I look forward to the next step. You know, it doesn't bother me. Food, spaghetti, and meatballs, and lemon meringue pie. Right here. I enjoy this place so much. I always enjoyed working. So in fact, I ended up building guitars, and it took me a while, and it was really fun. My favorite author is Louis L'Amour, and this is my favorite book of his that I've ever read, and it's not a Western. It's called Last of the Breed. Sweet Hour of Prayer has been one of my favorites all my life. But